Let's talk about my book date with Daggermouth. Welcome to After the First Date, the series where I share everything from my book date. As a warning, this is a spoiler discussion. I rated this book Engaged, I loved it, and there's so much I want to talk about, but I know I'm not going to have enough time in this video, so I'm going to do my best. Okay, I aspire to be like Shadera. Not only does she have incredible fighting skills, which every time she had an action scene, I played it out like a John Wick movie in my head, but she also has such a strong sense of self. I loved reading all of her inner thoughts because she doesn't shy away from herself at all. I think contrary to how she perceives herself, I really saw her as someone who just lets herself feel all of the pain, question everything that she thought she knew, and allow herself to truly process everything so that she doesn't get paralyzed by it and she can continue to move forward. She's just someone who trusts herself so much in this world, and you can see that every traumatic event that she went through really forged her into this person so she could survive everything. Every bathroom scene where she was crying was so gut-wrenching, and I just really resonated with all of her inner dialogue and how she processed things. It was honestly so helpful to me, and I found so much healing in her expression of things that I'm struggling with in my own journey. I also found Grayson to be a compelling character too. His inner thoughts were just as interesting to me as Shadera's. The constant battle in his mind of doing what's right, but at the cost of his humanity, was so gut-wrenching. I thought it was an important scene when he talked about how he chose to become the executioner because the alternative was so much worse for the people around him. And I don't know how he bears the burden of partaking in this awful system when it goes against every fiber in his being, even though he is still doing other things to try and resist as well. I ate up all of the fighting scenes and tension between Shadera and Grayson. Their chemistry was off the charts, and it was totally giving me Mr. and Mrs. Smith energy. I think that the reason why enemies to lovers is such a compelling trope is because when you're enemies, you are not trying to impress each other at all. In fact, you want to show each other the worst versions of yourself. You're not trying to look cute, you're not trying to act cute, like you are just being as repulsive as you can to the other person. And then when the attraction builds and turns into lovers, that relationship becomes so much more intimate because you've already shown the worst sides of yourself. Like there's nothing more that you could say or do that would push them away. So when they love each other, it feels so much more safe and freeing. And it reminds me of the quote that Grayson said, that the woman who was sent to kill him was the only woman who ever made him feel safe. Now let's talk about Callum. I am so angry and sad that he died. I could literally hear Lyra's screams in my ear as I was reading it, and I just thought he was such an amazing character. It was so interesting that he was the second most powerful person, and I really appreciated that him and Grayson had a true friendship. Knowing that they had each other made the world feel not as dark. I do feel a little bit conflicted about his choice not to tell Grayson and Lyra about their brother, and that he kind of manipulated Grayson to get closer to Shadera. When I found out he withheld that information, it was the first time I really questioned if I actually even knew Callum at all, and really made me wonder how far would he go in order to take down Maximus. From a literary standpoint, I think it makes perfect sense, and I'm glad it was added to the story. I also loved his relationship with Lyra, and one of my favorite scenes was when he got in the bathtub with her. I was a little hesitant about Lyra at first, but over the course of the book, I really came to like her, and honestly, Shadera was so kind to her in so many different ways, and it only made me love Shadera that much more. Then Lyra's stand at the end with all of the other elite women that she coordinated was just so hauntingly beautiful. In finding her own way to resist, I thought it was just such a beautiful part of her character arc. I loved Jameson. I thought he was so mature, and every time he was angry, I was like, he has a right to be angry. Let him be angry. No one's communicating or talking to him about anything. He really does love Shadera, and I think the way that he handled her choice to stay with Grayson was done in such a mature way that really is a reflection of his character and that he's a good person. I also found it really moving that in other circumstances, he would have wanted to be a doctor. I feel like I barely scratched the surface, but this video is getting too long, so here are just some additional quick thoughts. I'm not giving any time to disgusting Maximus, was so surprised to find out about Grayson's true dad, Brooker doing a double cross, and their mother being Python. I really don't know if I'm ready for book 2. Anyways, these are just some of the highlights from my book date, but I have to know, how did your book date with Daggermouth go?